Hi there, my name is Haley, and I need to confess that a very ridiculous thing happened to me recently, and all because of my stupid carelessness. I have always heard that I was very distracted, but I did not expect that one day it would bring me a lot of trouble. It all started with the fact that I really liked one of my classmates. His name was Christopher, and he was not the most handsome guy, the good athlete, or even an honor student. I just admired his kindness, honesty, and willingness to help other people. I tried to talk to him as often as possible, to join his company and just be a good friend to him, and I succeeded. I began to spend every weekend with Christopher and his pals. After a while, we used to go to the movies, play football, or simply lounge around and eat pizza at someone's place. Christopher and I conversed, made fun of each other, and he even walked me home on occasion. But it didn't happen very frequently because Christopher's best friend, Phil, was usually around and never left our side for even a second. Because Phil made it so tough for us, any romance was out of the question. When Christopher and I were given the task of cleaning up the classroom, Phil jumped at the chance to assist us. And the computer students, when my computer broke down and Christopher suggested me to work with him, Phil immediately gave him his computer and then sat near Christopher instead of me. Phil even managed to ruin my Valentine's Day for the first time in my life. I not only baked cookies, but also made chocolate. At our school, nobody ever gives candy to each other, only cards. But I wanted to surprise Christopher and make it clear how I felt about him. But my surprise was spoiled. Phil saw my gift right away, as soon as I took it out of my bag and started to ask me about who it was for. Soon, other guys from our group joined him. I couldn't tell Christopher I loved him, so I pretended it was a gift for all of my friends. After that, I recognized that unless I took action, I would never be able to approach Christopher. So I decided to write him a love letter and declare my thoughts that very evening. Of course, I could send him a message through Messenger, but Christopher rarely uses social media, and my message could be lost. I also didn't want to send it by text. In my perspective, language isn't appropriate for expressing my actual feelings. I was only trying to make my confession a little more romantic. As a result, I scribbled something fantastic on multiple sheets of paper, and the length didn't bother me in the least. I was pouring my heart with every word written. The next day, during gym class, I went back to the classroom earlier than all my classmates in order to secretly put my letter in Christopher's bag. But suddenly, all my confidence disappeared. I was standing near Christopher's desk for several minutes, but didn't dare put the letter in his bag. I woke up from a stupor only when I heard my classmate's voice in the hallway. There was no time left, so I tore out a notebook sheet in a hurry and wrote just a few words on it. I love you, Haley. I threw the letter in the bag and ran out of the classroom. Since Jim was last in class, I immediately went home with the unsent love poem in my bag. The next day, I went to school expecting Christopher to respond, but he remained silent and did not act normally. I had no idea what was going on or why he was ignoring me until Phil asked to speak with me. He stated that I was so lovely and gorgeous, but he wasn't expecting anything from me, and he looked uncomfortable. I didn't realize what was going on until I saw my yesterday's note on his hands. All of my inquiries had obvious answers. My mail ended up in the wrong bag. Phil approached me and asked me to be his girlfriend. I couldn't think of anything to say. All of our classmates were watching us, and I realized that my refusal would embarrass Phil in front of them, but I really didn't care about Phil. I was solely interested in Christopher's reaction if I allowed this to happen. Therefore, I had no choice but to say yes. This caused a great delight among our classmates and big changes in my relationship with Christopher. From that moment, he detached from me in every possible way. He no longer called me to the movies and did not want to walk me home. Phil did it instead. And this fact didn't bring me any pleasure at all. I needed to break up with him, but I just didn't know how to do this. So Christopher didn't think less of me. Then I decided that since I can't leave, I will do anything to make him leave me. As a first step, I asked Phil to walk me home every day and carry my bag. Of course he agreed. Have you ever heard jokes that girls' bags are so heavy because they carry bricks in them? I literally put bricks in my bag, and this was done to specifically discourage Phil from helping me. During our dates, I specifically spoke only about fashion, cosmetics, and other female things, not letting Phil say a word in, causing him to get bored instead of hanging out with our friends. I made Phil go to the library with me to do our homework. I would take him to obscure performances and even made us volunteer. So on weekends, we cleaned out cages of animals at the shelter and removed garbage around the city. Believe me, breaking up with Phil was a very difficult task for me. I tried to show him that we were different and didn't fit each other. And along with that, I still had to keep my own dignity. As bad luck would have it, Phil was very energetic and extremely patient. He saw only good things in everything. And as it seemed to me, he even enjoyed what we did. Seeing that, my plan was not working. I decided to take even more radical measures. I secretly listened to all the conversations between Phil and his friends and wrote down all the dates when he was going to go to a movie or play football with them. And then on those exact dates, I would call him for various picnics and dates. Sometimes I would even ask him to urgently help me with something last minute. He once skipped his friend's birthday party because he was helping my grandfather lug things out of the garage. Yes, I've done awful things, but only to make Phil consider ending our relationship. When Phil was looking at me, he soon stopped smiling. His inexhaustible supply of delight had dried up, and he appeared to be quite fatigued. He even began to refuse our dates, claiming to be ill or making some other excuse. Meanwhile, my relationship with Christopher had completely vanished, but Phil had made no attempt to end it. I even enrolled him in a chess club, knowing how much he disliked the game, and I was desperate because Phil kept inviting me out. Finally, having received another invitation for a date, I realized that all my efforts were in vain, and I lost any hope to start a relationship with Christopher. Another date with Phil took place as usual. I talked incessantly, and he silently listened to all that nonsense I was chatting about. But suddenly he interrupted me and asked me to listen to him. He spent a lot of time telling me that I was wonderful and kind, that I was a good activist, volunteer, and so on. But then he suggested that we break up. You can't imagine how happy I was to hear that. Phil referred to the fact that we just had two different interests, and I gladly supported him. I think it looked very strange when we both let out a sigh of relief. The next day, I brought my long love letter to school, since Christopher and I were very distant from each other. During my relationship with Phil, I decided that I had nothing to lose. Therefore, after class, I gave Christopher the love letter and told him everything about it. I told him that my gift for Valentine's Day and the love confession were intended for him. He read my letter with undisguised surprise, and I looked at the floor embarrassed, not daring to lift my gaze to him. Suddenly, Christopher grabbed my hand and told me that he loved me all this time. But when he found out that I like Phil, he decided not to interfere in our relationship and therefore decided to avoid me. He was also the one who persuaded me to start dating. My ears couldn't believe what they were hearing. Christopher and I would have been dating for a long time if I had put the confession in the right bag that day. Yes, I blushed. Christopher proposed me to be his girlfriend with a kind giggle. Of course, I answered yes. That day when we spoke with Phil and told him about the situation, I even mentioned the bricks in my luggage to him. Phil, however, had a great sense of humor and was not offended by either me or Christopher. The scenario worked out well, and I gained a good boyfriend as well as a good friend. Thank you for listening to my story. Have you ever had incidents like mine with love letters or maybe an unsuccessful love confession? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel.